A bold claim, I know. But these are all the aspects of this chart that we'll be breaking down in this video, and we'll be expanding on more and more and more as time goes on. So let's dive into it.
Solar systems, helping you understand the system your soul goes into through life, death, and of course, incarnation. Now before you doze back off into the inevitable monotony that the Matrix has to offer you, let me show you something. We created this chart known as the Solar Map, an accountability tool designed to help you flow through the energetic influences of this world like a breeze. Now allow me to share some ways you can use this. The first thing I'll introduce you to is the house systems displayed throughout the body. This will start you off with a much deeper understanding of how you personally manifested this vessel for yourself. Everyone has more chakras than the popularized 7. However, let's run through 3 classical chakras that actually have some overlap with this method. Now the first house, aka your rising or ascendant sign, is correlated to your crown chakra. The crown chakra is the tool you use to emit the light that you want to experience out to the universe. This is the focal point of your vortex, and can be experienced in its purest form during meditation as well as first impressions. It's crucial to know this because, just like first impressions with people, you have first impressions with experiences, and it's best to understand your energy when trying to match that with what you truly desire. The second house is correlated to your morals and what you value as an individual. Your morals and values can be seen as your spiritual operating system for this lifetime and vessel. Making sure that this area of life is clear and concise can help you phenomenally with your spiritual insights as well as your intuition. This is why this area of life is correlated to the first eye chakra, or what some people call the third eye chakra. But just remember, the spirit came first, and so did its eye. Now the third house extends from under your nose to under your arms. The third house is correlated to your throat chakra and can be best explained by the definition of intelligence, the ability to intake information and change your mind with it. Knowing the signs and planets you have placed here will greatly improve your learning potential. With this being your throat chakra, it'll especially increase your communication abilities. Now let's move on over to the most commonly used feature of the solar map, checking the transits through the body. Okay guys, now pay attention to every step because I'm going to walk you through what I personally created this tool for and what I do every morning when I check the transits. Step 1, go on solarsystem.org and check the current transits of what's going on right here, right now. For the purposes of this video, I'll be using the transits of April 13th, 2023. This is the week of Sun conjunct Jupiter, so obviously I'm going to break this down with all the Aries abundance that we have going on, with an exclusive focus on the Sun, Jupiter, as well as all the planets that Aries loves. Now, in diving into the actual influences of each transit, we need to look at 3 things. 1, the influence of the planet. 2, the effect it has on the houses transiting. And 3, which chakra is that house aligned with and how does it influence us? With the Sun being in Aries, it's transiting my 5th house. This influence will encourage many epiphany-like moments where my true creative endeavors and creative abilities will shine so brightly, so explosively, and exalt a new ability for me to create with. Now with the 5th house being the solar plexus chakra, one can only imagine how exalted, how bright, how shining my creativity really was. I mean, for examples, look at this video. Have you ever even thought about looking at astrology this way? Maybe, maybe not. But for this example, you can see how having Aries in a Leo space can only do so much for one's humility. Outside of the yang understanding of this though, having these alignments on your solar plexus feels so bright, explosive, and abundant. When you achieve that space of creative flow, abundance, just like anything's possible, you feel unstoppable, like you could run through a wall, depending on how high you go. However, it does come with a need to push things to their limit. And when the supercellium was transiting this space, oh, you felt it, and you found it. Having the Sun here will shine on all aspects of your potential, but just like any alignment, it's up to you and how you use it. As for Jupiter, this will also be transiting my 5th house in Aries. Jupiter is the planet of expansion through experience, aka the planet of trial by error. It is an abundant planet, a powerful planet, and when in Aries, it strikes hard and fast. When experienced through the 5th house, the concept of lightning striking twice is laughable. Lightning strikes every single second. Epiphanies are so abundant. Everything that you could possibly think of will be presented to you, and everything will seem like a great idea. Not to say that they aren't. However, the workload necessary to accomplish all of these things is next to impossible within the time frame given by each epiphany striking every second. Once one project is started, 10 other possibilities of pure amazement have already been seen. The way this feels in Aries is inexplicable. Everything feels so abundant, so apparent, and each epiphany is more euphoric than the last. Each chakra will feel different depending on the signs and planets that are already placed there. But if you do have Jupiter and Aries in the 5th house, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. When talking about Aries' home planet of Mars, Mars is in Cancer, transiting my 8th house. Mars does quite well in the 8th house, however, it doesn't really like Cancer. In fact, it would rather die than experience the Cancer energy consciously, which is why Mars falls asleep in Cancer, making this transit quite iffy in terms of its positivity or negativity. Essentially, this energy will be doubling down on my intense desire to only do what I truly care about. So depending on how and what I want to do to truly advance my life for my highest good, and if my deep desires truly align, we'll define whether this influence is positive or negative. Now, based on where this chakra is actually placed will make it quite easy to ascertain what some of these basic desires could be. However, if you were to dig a little deeper, you would notice that this house goes a little bit beyond desires, secrets, and hidden agendas. This house also aligns with investments, whether that be monetary or planting seeds for the future in other ways. The 8th house has a lot more going on than meets the eye. But in terms of a physical effect, sleeping planets are quite lacking in terms of the physical influence. Not to say that they are non-existent, however, their influence is much more subtle. But we'll touch on that once we get into the more yin aspect of the chakras in the next section. On to Aries' favorite planet, Uranus. Now, with this being an outer planet, this adds a few more variables to this transit. One being Uranus is also asleep right now in its least favorite sign of Taurus, and two being that its outer planet status gives it a much longer runtime in each house. So with the planet of change being asleep in Taurus actually moving through my 6th house, changes in our forms of stability such as food, monetary, and even morals will be influencing me through my 6th house of the work process as well as hygiene and standard bodily functions. This has influenced me to basically adapt my work to these changing times and all of the changing values that we're currently experiencing. For example, I became an astrologer, I created this product, I started my business, and now I'm making this video right now all under the same energy. Now, how this has influenced me physically through my chakras, I work much more efficiently when I don't eat, or I'm fasting until I get something that requires a lot of focus to get done, on top of releasing any expectation for where, when, and how things can manifest outside of what I'm working towards.
And now that we've made ourselves aware of the transits, let's go within.
To do this, we'll be taking a moment to clear our throat, first eye, and crown chakra. All you have to do is follow along with the breath work I'll be guiding you through. Now focus on the orb of light above your head. We'll be taking a breath into each chakra, aligning it, clearing it, and focusing on our energies on the internal aspects of our chakras. First breath, focus on that crown. Hold it, and release. Let all that energy flow down to your first eye chakra, and breathe the good energy in, and release. Let all that energy flow to your throat chakra, aligning your intuition and your insights to your conscious mind. Now breathe awareness into the space that we're focusing on. When looking to the planets, stars, Venus, and Mars, we're often looking for guidance, but the alignments can only tell you so much about the influences, especially when you're using the two eyes that lie right in front of your face. To go even deeper on how this influences you, you need to go and look within. Each house is correlated to a chakra, as well as an area of life. So before you go dancing around in your yin realm, looking for how the current influences are treating you, you need to feel each chakra of your own on its own. This is why every solar map is unique to each individual. Everyone manifests themselves with custom chakras and a different perspective on how to use them, which is why it's important that you spend time with yourself, feeling each and every one. And when you go, you'll find memories, energies, and even new gifts that can help you in your current experience. You already have all the answers within, and this is one way to find them. So when you're ready, I implore you to get your solar map and go within. I've already created a guided meditation to help you along your journey. So when you're ready, click the link in the description before we proceed to the next step. Now for those who have become more acquainted with their chakras, here's how you look within. Once you know where your planets are, it becomes much easier to identify the transiting planets from outside. Now to keep this part simple, we'll be focusing on the moon purely. We'll dive into each planet's influence on the body once we enter the medical aspect of this chart. Now the moon is the only celestial body of reflection, and when moving through our body, it adds an emphasis on that reflection. So when it moves through each chakra and area of life, you have a heightened ability to heal whatever is going on in that space. Because as many of us have learned, moving through life, the body keeps the score. So if you feel weird or don't align with certain moon transits, this may be why, and this may be what the moon's telling you. Now how you enter each space is just the same way we did when we started. You breathe your way into it. So when you get there, ask yourself, is it planets that I already have there reacting to the moon this way? Is it the sign? Or is it an experience that I'm holding on to, restricting the flow? Using your chart this way is all about mastering your internal alchemy. It's a phenomenal healing tool for transmuting negative and restrictive thoughts into a positive flow and aligning yourself with the path of least resistance. And the best way to start is by meditating each day with the moon transits. So be sure to check what sign the moon is in and what house that aligns with for you, meditating on the spaces that it moves through each day. For 28 days, we'll reaffirm your connection to your highest good. When you feel so pure within yourself, you'll be amazed with what you attract and how you manifest. And remember, there's no one right way to enter these spaces and transmute these energies. All I'm asking is that you open the door and walk through it. Welcome back to the physical. Now let's dive into how this chart can help you understand medical astrology and better prepare yourself for the coming transits through the body and how these influences can physically manifest for you. Due to the litigious natures of our society, disclaimer, this is not medical advice by any means, but if you were to use medical astrology, this is how the Soular Map can help you. Now, my favorite way to see how these influences can manifest physically involve 3 steps. 1, the relationship to the house that is transiting. 2, the relationship to the sign that it's currently angling. And 3, the positive and negative aspects of each planet and how that energy in excess can manifest for you. So let's run through all 10 planets and Chiron to see the common ailments or benefits that they have for you. First things first, the sun. The sun influences what you consciously see from the world, as well as what aspect of the world is represented back to you. An easy way to understand the sun under all schools of astrology is where attention goes, energy flows. So when looking at it through a medical lens, take note of how you're directing your focus to wherever the sun is transiting. With sun transits, the 2 main things that can pop up are energy levels as well as the placebo effect. This all comes down to where is it influencing you, how is it influencing you, and what is its relationship with other aspects of your chart. Wherever the sun is transiting in your chart will bring energies from the crown chakra as well as energies from the solar plexus. This deals with your intention and energy flows as spirit, as well as what you're able to come up with. So to start with the negative and work our way up, excessive focus and energy that's unchanneled and improperly used can lead to a lot of friction and physically manifest this inflammation in that area of the body. Focusing on intentions that don't align with you often come from the sun shining on things that you've buried deep down in whatever part of yourself that it's transiting. In other words, excessive shine, focus, and light on certain things that you don't really want in this world can overwhelm you and inflame different possibilities, leading you to use the negative aspect of the placebo effect. This will lead you down a path that you do not want to go, so it's best to nip it in the bud before things even start. Now on the positive side, the sun can give you everything you could possibly want in terms of energy and focus on that area of the body or area of life. On to the moon! Now the moon is the planet of reflection and refining energy, and it often moderates the energy of focus or where we direct our attention, aka sun energy. The moon transit brings the energy of the 2nd house or 1st eye chakra, as well as the 4th house or heart eye chakra to any of the houses that is transiting. Too much moon energy can manifest itself as stagnation, which is your spirit's least favorite energy of all. The spirit is shapeless, formless, gas. It loves to flow, move, maneuver. So when you're stagnating, not doing anything, and procrastinating, it creates a lot of depression, anxiety, and all of these negative emotions that you know deep down that you don't want, just to push you out of that space. And when you do break out of a stagnating cycle, this can swing the pendulum in the other direction. Now when the pendulum is swung in the other direction, you can use this moon energy to refine that, to moderate that energy flow, and bring yourself back into a state of balance. The moon is all about comfort and balance and returning yourself to your natural state of bliss and homeostasis. Be sure to use these transits wisely. They move through each chakra of your body every 2.5 days, pushing you to refine and make sure that you stay on point. Now, Mercury. This is where things get interesting. Mercury is the planet of thinking and communication, and it is correlated to your throat chakra as well as your gut chakra. This brings the energy of learning, optimization, and analysis depending on what sign and chakra you have it transiting. Now, Mercury is correlated to your teeth, gut health, as well as nervous system. So the key thing to focus on during each Mercury transit is food for thought. Not only food, but food as a thought itself. Foods create moods, and moods lead you to how you're going to interact with each thought that you engage with. So these 2 things combined are the fuel for your experience, mental and physical. The positive aspect of this experience can lead you to have a very, very smooth ride in terms of your mentality, on top of just feeling good in that area of the body. Why this is comes from not stressing out and overloading your nervous system, which can lead you down a negative path of anxiety, nervousness, and a little bit of depression. If this nervous energy is left unchecked for too long, eventually it will manifest itself as pins and needles, chronic pain, as well as all aspects of poor gut health. So remember, foods create moods, and thoughts create your reality. Food for thought. Now on to Venus, the planet of love, appreciation, values, as well as how you relate to others. Now, Venus is an individual influence, doesn't exactly affect it the way a Mercury or Saturn would. For Venus, I really implore you to look into the relationship that it has with this house as well as the surrounding planets. This includes how it likes the house, what sign is it in, as well as some personal house lord calculations that you may want to do for this sign and what it's transiting. Now, when Venus transits a chakra, this deals with the actual relationship experience. So how do you relate to that area of life as well as that part of your body? You may learn a lot about your level of self-love through the Venus transits, because if you don't have a good relationship with a certain area of life, or vice versa, you may be surprised to find what Venus has to show you. Mars, the planet of action, willpower, and aggression. This planet is bringing the energy from the first house and the 8th house to whatever house it's transiting. This will bring a lot of action and motivation. Similar to how the sun directs attention, Mars is the motivation or bloodline of actually manifesting these energies. So with that key word of mind, Mars deals with the actual rate that your blood flows. So depending on how well you use this energy will dictate how well the blood flow of that area manifests. A few questions you should ask about this Mars transit is how much pressure are you putting on yourself? Are you letting the energy fester, or are you doing it too much? Moderation isn't always key with Mars, but that is sign and house dependent. The positive aspects of Mars can lead to motivation, getting things done, making things happen with a smile on your face. This will manifest as healthy blood flow in whatever area Mars is transiting, leading to the vital nutrients getting to where they need to go. While the negative side can manifest itself as two ways, either pressure or anxiety. Either way, this is energy building up, so if you let it go for too long, what will build up in your bloodstream? Plaque, cholesterol? Either option is suboptimal, so be sure to manage your motivation levels based off how the alignments fit with that specific transit. Now expand your mind into a new perspective of what could manifest for you. This happens in a new area of life every year with the Jupiter transit. Jupiter is one of the planets of abundance, perspective, wisdom, philosophy, as well as expansion through experience. This transit brings the perspective of the 9th and 12th house chakra to wherever house Jupiter is occupying. And every house it transits, you go through a expansion and growth experience that you need to learn from every year. The key word for this transit is epiphanies or growing pains. Depending on the sign, house, and how it resonates with you, leading into how you use it, will dictate whether this growth is abundant and euphoric, or will it be full of type 2 fun, which starts with pain and ends with growth. While this can manifest physically if certain energies do go too far, Jupiter's graces or afflictions often lead to the mental state. Even though it is an abundant planet, you can grow in the positive direction just as easily as you can grow in a negative one. So when protecting yourself from the negative aspects of Jupiter, think about the negative vibrations of a Pisces or Sagittarius. They can become petty, lost, and stuck in an illusionary version of themselves, especially when they go through something long enough that teaches them they can only do such. This is the downside and what happens when growing pains go too far. So if you notice you're expanding on something that's horrible and negative for you, don't enable it. Nip it in the bud before it spreads like a cancer. Negativity aside, the positive aspect of this placement can be you growing a new outlook that expands your experience beyond whatever you thought was possible. For example, if you were to have Jupiter transiting your heart chakra and you used it in a positive and abundant way, you could expect a new outlook on your home life that leads you into A, building better relationships with you and your family, or even finding a new home that builds a better bond between all of you because you're living an abundant and lavish lifestyle. On to one of the most underrated planets for manifesting, Saturn, the planet of boundaries, restrictions, limits, how you create structure for oneself, as well as how you engage with it in the external world. Anywhere Saturn is placed, it brings energy from the 11th, 10th, and 7th house. Every 3 years, it reframes the same questions. Who do I want to be? How do I want that to look? How can I present this out to the world? Will it build me the relationships that I want? Do I even care how I'm seen? Every time Saturn transits a house and changes signs, these will be the questions presented to you over the course of 3 years in each area of life. So if you've already gone through your Saturn return, you most likely know what it feels like when Saturn decides to break a paradigm. And if you have a negative paradigm shift, this can often lead to physical damage in one way, shape, or form, whether it's something you truly care about and built yourself on, or even breaking yourself. And the most personal version of a structure system you can experience is your bones. So if you go as far as to experience some type of bone breaking, you'll know that it's more than likely that Saturn wasn't happy with how you were acting. But the reason it knew is even more interesting. You see, now that we're getting further and further out from the sun, and we experience these planets in a house for longer and longer, that planet has more time to realize how you're resonating. And more often than not, you wear your guilt and your feelings all on your sleeve, especially to those in the spirit world. They can see what you're thinking and how you're feeling just based off how you're resonating. Why can they see that? Because thoughts and feelings are the vessels they take themselves. They can't help but experience what you're experiencing. And being that planet's rule over the vibrations that these thoughts and feelings live on, they can't help but notice. So if the negative aspect of Saturn is manifesting physically for you, trust me, it gave you time. And every planet after this, excluding Uranus, will feel the same. As for the positive side of Saturn though, you can never go wrong with exercise and working through these experiences that you need to build. If you're looking for the flow state, run. If you want to build confidence, climb. If you want to seek out hardship to build yourself up, lift weights. There is rarely a Saturn transit that would preclude your ability to exercise. The reason being is that all forms of exercise increase bone density. And old Papa Saturn loves structure. The universe loves go-getters who go out there and actually make it for themselves. This is why the term self-made carries so much weight. Saturn loves it and will gift you for all the work that you're putting in. As long as the plan aligns with you and you create a real goal that actually can benefit you on your journey, Saturn will be there for you and support the structures that you truly desire. Now before we get to the outer planets, let's talk about my least favorite asteroid, Chiron. Chiron is known as the wounded healer, and oftentimes its influence leads you to be wounded so that you can heal yourself. Now while this sounds great to those who are fond of the underdog story, let me tell you a little bit about what Chiron can manifest for you. When a celestial body has asteroid status, it can come in hard and fast. Its influence can be much more intense than a planet even though it only lasts for a short amount of time. However, if its influence gets to the point of manifesting physically, the best you can hope for is learning something. Yes, learning from your mistakes can take you far. However, Chiron will manifest scenarios that are at best type 2 fun, aka an interesting story that is often laughing at one's own pain. However, when things take more of a negative turn, Chiron can swoop in and cause injury as great as Saturn can. Even though the celestial body still carries asteroid status, it's still not to be played with. Now let's move on to the outer planets. Uranus, the first of the outer planets, the planet of change, opposition, rebellion, and being unique and original. As expected, this planet is unpredictable and can really make anything happen. Before you can master this planet, you need to master chaos itself. And when transiting the houses, Uranus brings the energy of the crown chakra as well as the shin chakra, or the 11th house. This is that pure combination of Aries and Aquarius energy, which essentially doubles down on not giving a fuck. While you can say this about any or all of the outer planets, there's one key difference about Uranus, and that is time. Uranus does whatever it wants, how it wants, and that's just how it's going to be. Whatever sign it chooses may dictate how it operates, and where that sign lines up with whatever house you have it in shows you where it'll appear. The only real answer I can give to this monkey wrench of a planet is just learning how to deal with chaos, and that the best plan is the one that can adapt to the current circumstances. Now let's swim over to Grandmama Neptune, the planet of dreams, illusion, and creativity. This planet can be amazing if it's used properly and you learn how to build your life off the inspiration that it can give you. Wherever this planet moves through your chart, it'll bring the 12th house energy to that sign. Dealing with a Neptune transit, you need to ask, how does each sign dream, and how does each sign dream in a certain house? Using Neptune properly will create a healthy detachment to the world. This detachment encourages you entering the flow state, where you can truly extract what's necessary to create whatever your dream is from the subconscious realm. Moderation is key for this experience because if you go too far, you can dip down into that negative side where you can start creating illusions and eventually delusion for yourself. Afflictions from Neptune can manifest in a couple different ways. It can be deja vu that leads you down a wrong path, split personalities, and even psychosis if illusions become nightmares. But the most interesting affliction from Neptune is when things go really left and it leaves you with the concept of a phantom limb or a phantom feeling. As for our final planet in the Chaldean cycle, Pluto. This planet is seen as the extreme version of Mars, where it's deep transformation, deep willpower, as well as power and control issues. So much like Mars, when it hits, it hits. But like Chiron, it has no direct claim to any part of the body. Pluto's reach is so far and wide that it deals with paradigm shifts. And if you remember my statements on thoughts and feelings and where they occupy, planets can sense the feelings that you may wear in your spirit. So when dealing with a Pluto transit, Pluto gives you time. Pluto lets you allow to take power and control over whatever you need to do. And if you don't, that's when it strikes. The positive side is that you gain strength and learn power that you have within. This power was always there, and that's all Pluto is ever trying to show you. But when you don't take control, basically giving your power away, that's when Pluto feels obligated to take control and take matters into its own hands. Well guys, that's going to be it for now. I'm almost done editing the Soular Map tutorial, and I just want you guys to like, comment, subscribe, share, and let me know what you want to dive into next. This is only the introductory aspect. I can dive deeper on how to look at the transits. I can dive deeper on the yin and internal aspect of what's going on, as well as being able to dive deeper on everything in regards to medical astrology. So, catch you later guys.